Hey, hey, party people. ZTF here. Sorry, I had to. Today's production comes at the behest of a few of my fans and idle observers who have been seeing what I do and expressing interest in my techniques. You know, with these Genshin no-hits. So I set some time aside and tried to organize the basics of the basics. Genshin is not a complex game solo, but there is still more to that style than the casual observer might infer. You have no party buffs, no elemental reactions aside from what your character can create for themselves, and everything, even the local fauna, want you dead. But there are still some techniques that can make your job comparable to most duos and even some trios of players working as a team. That is actually why I'm sticking to the solo emphasis on this game. One, it's more challenging, and two, most people like to play this game in a group, so they won't get to see their full party anyway. At the very least, this will help keep you alive longer than everybody else, and maybe even see you head back from the great silly trail wars of Tevat in one piece. With that being said, the first of my basics I often describe is the Dragon Strike. I had no idea this is what players were calling the technique, and literally didn't even know more people knew about it and could do it at will until I watched one video from Wallenstein. Despite the potential language barrier, I thanked him for exposing me to a new trick, committed the timing he used to memory, and proceeded to never touch Genshin again. At least for the next 2 months. However, it was not meant to be. In one of the scenes from my delirium-induced fever dreams, I was playing Genshin, crazy, right? And was doing the Dragon Strike left and right in the abyss. So I woke up and later that day picked up Genshin. And then the dream became a reality. With time, practice, and unmedicated autism, I would soon discover that, just about everyone can do this. Every sword or claymore user I've picked up can do it, and has multiple ways they can do it. Some spear users, hell, even a catalyst user or two. But why is this skill valuable? When would you do it? When wouldn't you do it? Well, that last one there is the easiest to answer, seeing as the enemies who can hit you when you're doing it are low. I mean the number of enemies. If you time it correctly, and based on what you're fighting. Yes. The exceptions, while rare, are there to be reckoned with. But this skill is valuable to know because, 1, it gives you options with how to take down shields when your E-skill only gets one use every so many seconds. 2, it is an alternative method of evasion while still maintaining an active offense. 3, some enemy AI can be faked out by timing it properly, making long slogfests into swift takedowns with one simple trick. I know, right? Genshin devs hate him for this one easy trick. Some shields are able to be damaged by physical damage, but it progresses at a snail's pace, while most of the ones you're used to seeing can't be damaged at all except with elemental damage. However, Dragon Strikes are an exception. Here's the very first Abyss Mage I found in this game. Let's demonstrate a shield takedown with Dragon Strikes and one with only physical attacks and the E skill as it's available. The Dragon Strikes make it go almost twice as fast. Also, there are some shields you simply can't damage with physical attacks. The obvious exception to this are Claymore users, who still inflict a tiny bit of damage to all shields. For an example, the Iniquitous Baptist and the Cryo Regis Vine. Now take all this information I've dumped into your lap and put it on crack. There is an exception to this slow, nitpicky shield destruction rule, unless you're doing your Dragon Strikes with a Catalyst user, in which case your Dragon Strikes will still do nothing to shields. I'm talking about Geo. Geo, for some reason, is the weakest to the Dragon Strike that I've seen. You can see it, you can use it in substitution of an E skill to instantly harvest iron and white rocks. It rapidly destroys all Geo HP in general, and even Geo shields, as demonstrated with the new and old enemies in this domain, can't stand up to it. But on to the obvious question, how is it done? In my experience with it, it seems to be the easiest when executed as a matter of momentum while you are already attacking. It's possible to do without any attacks, but the timing and placement has to be just so, and some enemies are still shaped weird enough to mitigate your attempts. The rule that usually serves is dashing, then jumping at almost the exact same split second, so that you leap and carry yourself into and over whatever you're facing. You can practice on totem poles, but there are shield slimes who are easier to get a feel for the timing on. You won't know you've got it until you find a domain or even the abyss to practice in, though. The less grades and altitude you have to use as a crutch, the more certain you can be. I mentioned momentum. You create this by attacking, obviously. The timing that works the most often for me, with the most characters, is timing my dash/leap at the exact second the hit lands, where numbers first appear. They aren't even done springing out yet, and you want to be doing it. basically. From what I've seen, this can be done with literally any attack that any character can use. For obvious reasons, I'm the most practiced with Jean, able to do it with any given one of her 5 swings in her regular attack, and sometimes with her charge attack. It's probably not something you'll master instantly, but it is worth setting the time aside to master. Which brings us on to the one that has probably confused the most of you, the bunny hop. This one is probably the easiest to demonstrate. At any given time in your attack routines, with the exception of some E-skills and bursts and some of the artsier normal attackers, quote-unquote, you can interrupt your combo and hop aside. This serves a number of purposes. Mobility at 0 stamina cost if you're out or trying to conserve it, like in the Mondstadt talent domain. Wink wink. A substitute for Stutter Dodges with the more forgiving attacks you might encounter. And it seems to confuse the AI as much as it would any player when you start bouncing around like the Animaniacs. It's an essential supplement to any solo gamer's technique in Genshin, but like any other, not there to be spammed. You still have to attack, sooner or later. Which brings us on to the matter of Stutter Dodges. This one operates under the same idea as Stutter-Stepping, which you may hear to describe some dance sequences or combat maneuvers. Think of it as a stutter but physical. Hoyo allows you to do the dodge animation back-to-back in case you're being pressured from all sides or a really dogged attacker is on your case. And as long as you have the stamina to do so, you can pull off up to 2 of these in X amount of time. It seems to be a 1 to 2 second hard stop on the function if you use that second one, though. This is why I advocate the bunny hop for maneuvering as well. There are 3 characters who stand exceptionary to this rule, though: Ayaka, Mona, and Scaramucci while in flight mode. As long as you have stamina/aerial stamina, you can hammer that dodge button over and over and over and over again, and they will do it back to back, whether that's 2 dodges or 20. The obvious drawback to this is that Ayaka and Mona can't do dragon strikes. Now, another phrase that I've used before that has raised a couple eyebrows has been hit staggering. As the wording might lead you to think, staggering your hits is literally as simple as not walking in, button mashing like a 5-year-old picking up Mortal Kombat for the first time. All in all, this doesn't serve many practical uses in a game like Genshin, except for when it does. Enemy animations get weird, I notice, if you just wail on them while they're doing their attacks at times. This is the most common with the legendaries and the weekly bosses. It stands counter to the narrative that the game's combat is all about DPS and overwhelming the other person harder than they overwhelm you, I guess. But you don't want to be constantly beating every enemy all the time. Some enemies dodge. Some enemies teleport away. Some have an interruption to your aggressive habits, which in turn leaves them wide open. It isn't a vital skill, but it's a good skill for when you're trying to maintain minimal offense while keeping your guard up, baiting a counter to then punish your enemy, or to bring your own attack accuracy through the roof on otherwise dodgy, irritating opponents. All aside, that's it for the foundation I can teach. Like I said, it's not a complex game, and there aren't many exploits, but there is a learning curve based on what you want to play / what's available and how you make it work. I'm hoping this helps the people who have been asking me to teach / train them more than my clumsy live attempts at teaching have gone with a handful of you. I love seeing skilled players out there. I love seeing people who pull shit off that in turn inspires my own game, no matter what title I'm playing. How I play Genshin is the amalgamation of 2.5 decades of fighting experience, IRL and in-game / online, as well as can be presented, and I'm always looking for a new thing to learn and add to the rep, title to title to title. I love combat. And I'll take it where I can get it, like that one friend takes all the brownies at the friend dinner. Stay safe, God bless. Let me know if there's anything I missed. Cheers.